Hey guys and girls, it's Nathan Birch here from Be Decentralized, and today I want to talk a little bit about cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, all the other cryptos that are out there. Just before I get started, as always, I'm not your financial advisor. This is not financial advice. I'm just a dude with an opinion, sharing my views on how I see the world. Looking at the crypto market out there, a lot of people are still skeptical. They don't understand the new technology. They don't understand how Bitcoin could be worth $20,000 or $10,000 or whatever. They think it's got a value of zero. And today I wanted to explain a little bit to you guys about where I see the value from Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. So, there's people out there talking that crypto could go to $1 million, could go to zero. That's the interesting thing with this new currency, new tech out there. So let's just work out a little bit about what it is and what it isn't. And I'm going to leave you guys with some homework to go and do your own research and find out a little bit more about how money works. So money has been used throughout history. It hasn't always been pieces of plastic with dead criminals printed on it. Money has come in all different formats. All that money is a format of trade and something that people have placed value into. So looking at any sort of currency, there comes a network effect, and the network effect of our dollars that we use today has changed a lot. But basically, as a child, we're all put into a 12-year indoctrination camp school in order to be taught to fit into a system, and we're all led to believe that we have to use a specific type of currency. This has not always been the case. However, the current monetary system that we've got has only been in place for a little over 45 years. Throughout history, fiat currencies, and research what fiat currency is. Fiat currency is a currency that's made up from nothing. This value is just, it's not scarce. And the first hyperinflation in the world, a hyperinflation is where your money loses value very fast. The first hyperinflation occurred in 1024 AD. It was actually China who had a first hyperinflation, and they created the first fiat currency. Since 1024 AD, there's been over 10,000 different currencies out there in the marketplace, and they've all eventually died, and none of them have really surpassed that 45-year mark. We've had dollars, we've had pounds, we've had marks and all different types of currencies over time. If we go back through modern history in the last 100 years, there's been lots of currencies that have disappeared. The US had a continental. It's not worth a continental. That's where the value comes from. Is because it ended up in a hyperinflation, the greenback. If we go back to why Hitler rose to power, that's because there was money that was printed. The Germans became broke. It's reported that you could retire on 50,000 Weimar, which in the 1920s, within 3 years, you could retire on 50,000 Weimar. That would be like having $5 million in your bank account today. However, within a period of 3 years, the banks closed the bank accounts and didn't even send you a letter. The reason being is that the postage stamp was worth more than 50,000 Weimar. If we look at real current times, we've got Venezuela, Zimbabwe, and we've all heard the stories about that. In Venezuela, it's reported that they're actually breaking into the zoos and eating the animals for food just to survive. And hyperinflation has been what's killed most currencies over the history of time. Looking at the current system, in 1971, President Nixon had actually removed the gold standard, put it backed by petrol. That's why it's called the petrodollar, and the US dollar became the base currency of the world. So all currencies are sort of backed by, there's a couple of currencies that aren't, they're not under the IMF, it's very, very few. It's only like 3 countries that are left that aren't under that. And basically looking at the current state of affairs, in the last 10 years since the GFC, there's been more money printed in the last 10 years than what there has been throughout the whole of human history. And that's a very concerning point for most of you to have to take in. So if you're not a fan of Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies or whatnot, I see that there's going to be a need for them in the not too distant future. Personally, I believe, for those of you that don't know me, I've been in money been playing with money for many years. I'm successful outside of cryptocurrency. I do these videos just to share my knowledge, my views on how I'm seeing things happening out there in the world, so you can, sort of prepare or get a better understanding and do your own research. Obviously, as I said, not financial advice. I keep throwing those disclaimers out there in order to prepare for this. So I retired from the workforce at the age of 24 during the midst of the GFC, and that was nearly 10 years ago. And I see that we're going to be seeing something very, very big, much bigger than that, over the course of 2018 and 2019. Looking at some of the ways that the dollar has been dying, there is literally, up until the early 2000s, there was only, I think it was like $1 or $2 trillion worth of money out there in circulation, in debts and whatnot. Currently, globally, I think we're about $240 trillion worth of debt. When the GFC hit, basically the world had to print more money in order to stop ourselves from going into a global sort of recession or depression. And basically that money has dried up that has been printed, and we need to print more. There's been three things of quantitative easing, which is the central banks around the world printing off more money. Obviously, if you picture a cup of cordial, a cup of water, pour water into the cordial, you see the water get diluted. If you keep pouring water in there, soon there's going to be no cordial left in the actual cup. And basically, a lot of people don't realise that. People around the world, doesn't matter what country you're in, what I've been realising over the years is that the news is the same globally. The global news, we've seen here, I'm from Australia, we've seen house prices, the front page newspapers unaffordable, banking issues, we've seen cash bans around the world, we've seen banking recently, like banking government inquest into banking, the Royal Commission. We've also seen plastic bag bans, etc. If you notice around the world, these sort of laws and changes are affecting every country, the same sort of front page newspaper stories that are out there. And we're heading to a phase now where liquidity is being sucked out of the market. People in Australia feel that they can't buy a property because house prices are too expensive. My background is property, and I'm a property investor. And the reason why isn't because people can't afford them, and it's not because the houses are worth that. It's the fact that the money is actually dying. So for me personally, the reason why I invest in a property is because I realise that as money gets inflated, or as it gets deflated in its value, basically your debt becomes irrelevant with inflation. So what we're seeing is, let's just go back 10 years and look at a few, things that were worth out there. So in 2008, the cost of a paddle pop was 80 cents. A Big Mac meal was $5. Just simple sort of food items. And if we look here in 2018, a paddle pop is worth $2.50, and a Big Mac meal is $10. And inflation has been creeping up on people all around the world. And what I see is that your dollar is buying less. So back in 2008, you could have bought a paddle pop. If you had $1,000, you could have bought paddle pops at 80 cents. You could have got 1,200 paddle pops for your $1,000. In 2018, at $2.50, you would have got 400. So your purchasing power of the money is actually dying. Where does cryptocurrency come into it? It's got a finite supply. There's never been anything sort of quite like this throughout the history of mankind, where you can have an exchange of value, but it's actually got a deflationary pressure instead of inflationary forces that work towards it. So the challenge that I have for you guys, and once again, as I said beforehand, this isn't financial advice, and I'm not your financial advisor. The question I ask you is, if we were to go back into 2008 again, and you had $1,000 here in one currency, which is your Aussie dollar, your US dollar, so on and so forth, and you would have $1,000 in a deflationary. Basically, there's more of these notes that are out there basically throughout time. When money first got created in its current format, you could literally get a piece of gold or silver. That's why your coins in most countries are backed by like gold or a silver looking to them. They used to be backed by gold and silver. Looking at them nowadays, they just represent and look like it. They're fake gold and silver. Basically, in those days, how they used to, print more money is that they'd mix other type of metals in with, in with their currency. Then it went to a point where they could just print as much money into their currency. And now they don't even have to print it or do anything. All they do is have a centralized ledger, which the central banks around the world just push a button and they add more debt attached to the balance sheet. So looking at what money really is in the central banks is it's just a centralized ledger that's controlled by a few and manipulated to, just be on their balance sheet. That's all it is. What cryptocurrencies is a decentralized ledger, which people can't add extra to it. It's a computer network. It has a network effect of people buying into it, and that's why its future is very, very bright, because as people lose the value in the purchasing of their dollar, for example, in 2008, you put $1,000 into USD, AUD, whatever currency it is out there, and you go and purchase in 2018 a paddle pop, you would have 400 paddle pops. Or instead of buying Big Macs at $5, now they're $10. Instead of having 100 Big Mac meals, you only get, instead of having 200 Big Mac meals, you can only have 100 Big Mac meals. So the purchasing power of your money is dying. And the question that I ask you is that if you don't understand money and you don't understand how it all works, what's going to happen as our dollar continues to die? If you look at, I don't have charts on this video or anything like that, if you go and look at the charts as to our purchasing value of our money, it just continually dies and heads into a downward pressure. And it will continue to, and it will speed up with more velocity as that dies. Imagine having a credit card of $10,000. You can't pay that $10,000 credit card off, and you can't pay the interest, so they're up at 20, you up it to 50, you up it to 100,000. Suddenly you've got the credit card at $1 million. Now you've got it at $2 million. The amount of interest that you're having to pay, which the central banks obviously control, will inevitably become unsustainable, and that's why it's spiraling out of control quicker and quicker, and the dollar is dying faster and faster. So if you had $1,000 in one currency, and you can only buy 400 paddle pops, we used to be able to buy 1,200 paddle pops. For those of you that don't know what paddle pops are, they're just an ice cream here in Australia. But you used to be able to buy 1,200 paddle pops, now you can only buy 400 paddle pops. You've lost 2/3 of your purchasing power. Now if you had have bought Bitcoin, for example, in 2008, which it wasn't around, but if you had have put it into a different currency which has the deflationary abilities to it, rather than inflationary fundamentals like the dollar, you'd be able to purchase more items, products. Well, you'd probably be able to buy the whole plant that makes the paddle pops. So if we're looking here at these numbers and thinking about where the future would go, the question that I leave with you is, even if you hate cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, think it's a scam or whatever, if you have just $100 worth of cash, right? Think what $100 used to buy you and what $100 would buy you in today's market. Let's fast forward 12 months, 24 months, 5 years, 10 years. I personally think that within the course of the next 5 to 10 years, we will have to change our currency. We've already seen the laws change all around the world. They're making a cashless society, which means that if it's constantly going through the bank, the money is not yours, and that you're at servitude to the system that you're working along. If one currency can buy you, out of paddle pops, say 40 paddle pops today, and the other one is working along the opposite force, because it's just the fact that it is. If Bitcoin, you buy $100 worth of Bitcoin today, and that goes to $200, and you can still buy the same amount of paddle pops. The reality of it is that the more money that's getting printed from the central banks, the quicker that the dollar is dying, the more value that's going to go into other type of assets. If you look at most assets over the course of the last year, most items that you're buying, we haven't seen the true ramifications of the printing of the money that has occurred over the course of the last decade. But if you were to go and fully investigate that, you would see that your dollar is just buying less from going to the shopping to do the weekly groceries, whether it's going out to buy clothing, whether it's going out to buy real estate, whether it's going out to buy lots of things out there, because inflation is occurring. Inflation is a silent tax that people don't see. So understanding how money works, if things are getting inflated away and the dollar's buying less, organically, that means that as a quicker, if you had $100 in Aussie dollar and $100 in US dollar, which both fiat currencies because they're backed by the US dollar, if you had $100 in each one and you could buy more products with one money, would you rather use the money that you can buy more with, or the money that you can buy less with? And as more people are realizing that their money is buying them less, the dollars that they use are buying them less, then the quicker people will start adopting, and that network effect will actually clock on, and people will start adopting that currency because it's a better form of currency for them to use. So Bitcoin, we've seen it go to 20,000, 25,000 here in Australia. It's gone all the way back down to 6,000 US, 8,000 Australia. It is a volatile market at the moment, but do consider that 12 months beforehand, it was on the market for around the $800. So, it has, been inflated dramatically, yes. However, we've got 9 billion people in the world and 21 million Bitcoins. Bitcoin can be derived down with 8 decimal places at the end. So the ability for it to be spread around to the masses has a greater network effect. There's people around the world, if you're watching this video, I'm sure that you've got power, you've got electricity, you've got a telephone that you're watching it from, a tablet that you're watching it from, a computer you're watching it from, whatever device you're watching it from. But 2/3 of the world doesn't have power, lives on $2 a day, don't have identities, don't have bank accounts, and they're the people that this will really affect to start off with as they get plugged into the system. If we look at the people like yourself in Western societies and whatnot that are watching this video, what we're seeing is our dollar is being removed, our dollar is dying and our wealth is being removed from us. If I said to you, you could have $100 here and you could buy today 40 paddle pops, and in 5 years' time you can only buy 20 paddle pops, your purchasing ability is depleting at a rapid rate. As I said beforehand, 10 years ago you could have bought 120 paddle pops for your $100, but now you can only buy 40, and if it goes to 20, you will start to see the wealth being removed from you very quickly. If you had this $100 and you could buy 120 10 years ago, and then we can buy 200 now, you can buy 400, 600, 1,000. Which currency would you prefer to use? Would you prefer to use a currency which is losing its value, or are you going to be using a currency which is gaining its value? Research fiat currencies, realise the fact that fiat currencies always die. They never last more than 45 to 50 years. There's been over 10,000 of them in the last 1,000 years. Our dollar was created in 1971 and it is very rapidly dying. If we look at the interest rates around the world, currently the central banks here in Australia, they've been held for the last 2 years at 150 basis points or 1.5%. Most countries around the world have gone to 0% interest rates. If we look at places like Sweden and whatnot, the interest rates have been in the negative. So you actually get paid for taking the money from them. If we had a very good economy out there globally, interest rates would not be at zero. They'd be much higher than that. The dollar is dying. It's happening globally, and wealth is being transferred. The benefits of cryptocurrency, even if you put $100 in it, if you're not a big fan of it, if you think it's a scam or whatever, if you think it's a scam, I encourage you to put a bet against it for it to fail. I encourage you to. I have no benefit from anything that you do, from your actions that you take from this video. I'll put it as a challenge to you. If you do not like it and you think it's going to die, bet against it that it will die. If you think that it's good, do whatever you feels best for you. If you're sitting undecided or whatnot, put $100 away in a savings account, $100 in a savings account, and check back in 5 years. Buy $100 worth of Bitcoin, come back in 5 years, and see what you can buy with both currencies. Go out, look at loaves of bread, look at drinks, look at whatever you can buy for $100 today, and look at what you can purchase in 5 years' time with both of the currencies. And I'll leave it open for you guys for a bit of healthy discussion. But as I said beforehand, none of this is constituted as financial advice. I'm just sharing my view on how currencies work, how monetary systems work, and the reason why I personally am very excited by the fact that we've got this system which is a decentralized ledger, cannot be manipulated, cannot be tampered with like the current financial system, which is the people's money. And it's very, very exciting times, and I've seen that there's a lot of wealth that's being created, and I think that over the course of the next 5 to 10 years, as adoption speeds up to it and the network effect grows, that a lot of people will see the benefits from their purchasing ability. As I said, on $100, if you've lost 2/3 in the last 10 years of your purchasing power, or $100 here and your purchasing power increases, that is just in itself what has the benefit of the linchpin to, one, expedite the fact that the dollar will die, and two, bring mass adoption to cryptocurrencies. Thanks for watching, guys. If you like it, make sure you hit the like button. If you don't like it, hit the dislike button. If you do like it, share it with your friends, make comments below, and we'll catch up soon. And also remember to subscribe to this channel and push the bell for notifications. We'll catch up soon. Have an awesome day.